I've always been fascinated with the idea of a magical artifact, something that gives you a power that no one else has. Second best thing to actually having your own superpowers, which I had to resign myself, I did not have. I actually came across my own magical artifact at a young age, believe it or not. When I was 14 years old in the early 90s, my best friend Jason Mandel received a quarter with a hole in it as change at Tilly's Pizza. Now, for those of you who don't use a lot of coins, a quarter with a hole in it, basically when a string has put through it and that string is dropped around your finger, could basically, in theory, be used to be inserted into a coin slot and used over and over again. In other words, you have what is known as a quarter of infinity, which is what I call it. So this quarter blew our minds, and we were so excited to use it because we were two kids who loved going to the arcade more than anything in the world. And the idea that you could play free video games at the arcade all night was the best idea of all time. So we made plans to go about 3 days later, and those 3 days passed by excruciatingly slowly for me. But when the day finally came, Jason called and was like, "Hey, dude, sorry, I made other plans. We'll reschedule for some other time, don't worry about it." And I was crushed. And something you should know about my relationship with Jason Mandel is I started to get a little jealous of him at this point in my life. He lived in a much nicer house than me in a much nicer neighborhood where he had two really nice movie theaters nearby. And I only had one crappy movie theater called Sunrise Cinemas that had a shooting at it a few months ago, and I wasn't allowed to go there anymore, so it sucked. So on top of this, he also had started dating. He had been seeing a few girls and hooked up a few times, and I hadn't done anything but hold Katja Lynn's hand in 4th grade, so things were looking so good for me. Nevertheless, I was determined. I couldn't make a girlfriend, but what I could make was a quarter with a hole in it for sure. So I went home that day and I took an ordinary quarter and I tried everything I could to put a hole in it. I started with a push pin and worked my way all the way up to a hammer and nail. And as it turns out, piercing metal is actually really hard. And I wasn't able to do it. My second attempt was to run to my local pizza place and attempt to get a quarter as change with a hole in it, hopefully, as well, thinking lightning would maybe strike twice. So I went to my pizza place and I paid $3 for a $2.25 slice and soda. And I got nickels and dimes, and I was like, "Fuck you, man!" And the guy at the pizza place was like, "What?" And I stormed out. So basically, I had resigned myself that I was at the mercy of Jason and his quarter. So about a week later, our backup day finally arrived, and Jason was like, "Let's do this. We're going on a Saturday." And I pack a backpack full of supplies. I have a sandwich and sodas and candy bars and chips, ready to prepare to stay a whole day at this arcade. I had it all planned out. And when I see Jason, he's just wearing the clothes on his back and he has the quarter on him. And I'm thinking to myself, is this guy even serious? Is this guy even taking this seriously? Does he care? You know? We walk over to Peter Pan arcade, which is the name of the place we went to, and we found a sort of discreet area by the Dragon's Lair 2 machine. Those of you who don't know Dragon's Lair 2, it's a real quarter muncher. So we go over to the machine and make sure the arcade owner isn't watching us. And I stand next to the machine waiting for Jason to do his thing with his quarter. And I've got my arms crossed and I'm kind of grumbling to myself. And he turns to me and he goes, "Hey, you want to go first?" And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, you seem really excited to do it, so go ahead and try it." And I was really surprised. My first thought was to just take the quarter from him and run and live my life as an arcade hopping hobo for the rest of my life. But my morality got the better of me, so I took the quarter and I slowly, with the kind of care I treated nothing in the world before then and to this day, I slid the quarter into the coin slot very slowly, and I let it go as far down as it would. And I tried to listen for the little chime that plays when the quarter is accepted into a video game, but it didn't play. I pull it out very slowly, look at Jason, go and then try it again, sliding very slowly, no sound. I think to myself, of course it doesn't work. The quarter hadn't chosen me.
Oh my.
It was Jason's quarter. And I pull it out and take it off and I hand it to him. Stand there and watch him do it, and it actually doesn't work for him either. And we try a few other machines and it doesn't work anywhere. As it turns out, coin-operated vendors had long discovered the idea of a coin with a hole in it and had taken preventative measures to make sure no one could simply put a coin in over and over again into their coin slots. So what we had in our hands was not in fact a magical artifact, but a regular ordinary quarter with a hole in it. And we went back to our ordinary lives as kids and paying for their own video games, which was probably for the best because I didn't like what the thing was doing to me. So that's my story. Thank you very much.